the owner left us a list of things what he want to get done. So in this video, or videos, I have to test drive the car first, definitely. Okay, so engine rebuild. So I want to do like an engine teardown after 108,000 miles. That will be a lovely video to see how RS4 internals looks after over 100,000 miles. Okay, let's floor it. There is a bit of a smoke coming from the back. I'm not sure what's the state of the catalytic converters because the car stinks really badly. Well, there is a bit of oil, as you can probably tell. I'm not surprised. I am not surprised. I will put you some music what you all hate, very loud music, and we'll get to the job. So the engine is out. Took me a couple of hours yesterday evening, and unfortunately even before I actually strip something down, we already find some more issues and some more things what will need sorting, replacing and doing. I will not show you now because it's basically useless. We're probably gonna strip it fully down, which means typical the whole loom with ECUs, exhaust, separate the gearbox with the engine, strip everything down. Probably gonna put everything on one table, and we will try to do like a list what needs doing for the owner and for you guys as well, so we have a bit of idea how average condition RS4 looks like. So we stripped down everything what was needed, and basically we can hang up the engine finally. So there's nothing from the back. All the timing chains were removed along with the gears for the oil pump, air conditioning and power steering. So I think we can put it on the engine stand what we have. We will turn it around. We have to open up the bottom end, which means the oil sump is coming off. First and second plate from the block needs to be separated. Open up the con rods and we will get to the bottom of it. What's the condition? So stay tuned, we will continue. Okay guys, so here we are, the last part of the video. The engine is fully stripped down, as you can tell, and finally we can see and check every component from the engine what was removed. On the beginning, I must say that the engine is in a condition when loads of things need doing, not even from the engine side, but even from the suspension side, and all the components around the engine have quite lots of signs of tear and wear, rust and other things. So in front of us we have aluminium block. It's aluminium silicon, which means the block is not heavy as the iron cast one. Audi tried to save some weight, but unfortunately there is a bit of a problem. As you can say or tell from the footage, the block has few scratches inside, which means, well, option number one, we will have to put liners in, or if the machine shop will actually tell us there's nothing wrong with it, they will just probably clean it and try to polish it somehow as much as they can. Because if you have to take the block for 8 liners, it will end up something about 1,800 to 2,000 pounds. The biggest problem with the liners is that not loads of companies actually wants to do it, because as you can tell, the space between each combustion chamber is very small, which means you have to use very specific and tight liner what will go in, and there's no space for any kind of mistakes, because the water ports and oil ports are very close together. So we will see what will be the outcome with the block. I already stripped one piston fully down. You can see the carbon build-up inside the piston is not massive, but slowly but surely this is what's actually killing these engines. It's the oil changes and the intervals what people used to have on these engines. We recommend, especially on the high performance vehicles, to keep it between 6,000 to 8,000 miles or 1 year, because oil is the main thing was actually keeping the engine running properly and is lubricating all the surfaces and stuff. So in this case, it's not the worst what we've seen, but the carbon buildup is definitely noticeable, especially in the oil ring. I did put these 3 rings into the block already, as you can see, and we did measure the gaps, and the gaps are still in some kind of specific numbers. So I don't actually think that the piston rings were worn out, which was the cause of stripping this engine down. Also, the whole bottom end of this engine is actually quite interesting, because this is not a dry sump engine like in the R8s. The oil pan is basically there, so the oil is kept on the bottom of the engine, and the oil pump then is taking all this oil from the oil sump back into the oil system. I did notice some plastic distributors or some flaps in the sump, which is helping the oil pump to keep the oil in the middle. So quite smart idea until the plastic will break, but so far I never heard no one, especially on the forum, saying that they have any problems with these sort of plastics in the sump. So far they're good. The whole bottom end, when it comes to the crankshaft, the bearings and all these components, I didn't see any significant tear and wear signs, even after 108,000 miles. Of course, there are some normal signs that the engine was obviously running, but by my opinion, especially the bearings on the con rods, we can use them again, but of course we will replace them. But if something internally happened and we're just saving the engine, putting it back together, I will definitely reuse them with clear mind, because they have minimum signs of tear and wear. Then we are getting to the main bearings for the crankshaft, which again don't have any significant sign of tear and wear. The worst one was the complete front one, whereas the crankshaft pulley for the alternator, one corner is actually worn out a bit more than the other, and the only tear and wear sign, which I think was on the limit, was on the back bearing, whereas the flywheel. But other than that, the engine was pretty much in good condition. However, we're getting to the bottom of the problem, why the engine is actually stripped down in bits, and why the owner actually decided to do such a work. So he was complaining about smoke from the exhaust and some burning smell. First point, what actually happened and why there's a smoke coming from the exhaust are the missing catalytic converters. He thought he still had them, but unfortunately somebody cut them out. So it was a fully straight pipe exhaust, basically just with some rear boxes. And secondly, the PCV valve, which was on the car, originally failed and it was replaced not a long time ago, so the PCV valve is new, but the whole intake manifold wasn't cleaned up, and when I was stripping the engine down, you can see on the footage that there was quite loads of oil in the manifold, which I believe was slowly getting into the combustion chamber and it was burning the oil. And now we can get to the main reason why the engine is actually stripped to complete bits. So the main reason why the engine was actually burning excessive amount of oil and why there was a blue smoke and so on were the cylinder heads, and not directly cylinder heads, but I think the inlet valves. The reason for that is I did remove or took off the spring with the lock from each head, as you can tell. So next to me is a Bang 1 cylinder head, which you can probably tell is sort of like just from a carbon, it's nice and dry. And the Bang 2 cylinder head, as you can tell, is a bit more wet, or definitely something was getting in. So before we had the car, it was in the MRC for a deflap, I believe, and a walnut cleaning. So the valves were actually cleaned up, and I don't see any reason why they should be wet or dirty from oil. As soon as I remove the lock with the spring and I can actually take the valve out and check the play and the excessive movement, we can definitely confirm that the reason why this engine was actually burning excessive amount of oil were the stump valve seals, which accidentally, when I removed one of the springs, I just found out that one of the stump valve seals has some kind of a damage. And the second reason, actually the liners or the guides in the cylinder head for the valves. So for the exhaust ones, Audi used iron cast, and for the inlet ones it's brass, which is like really soft material. And unfortunately the exhaust valve guides were worn out because of the amount of heat which is coming through them, and the inlet ones worn out because the material is soft. So the cylinder heads will be fully done. The brass one will be replaced for iron cast one for the inlet valves as well, and the heads will be fully refurbed, so the valves will be brushed in and they will be cleaned up, they will be skimmed, pressure tested, and so on and so on. From the whole tear down of the engine, I must say I was actually quite surprised from the internals of the engine. All the components which are actually sitting with camshafts or other components which are spinning and so on, there's actually no sign of any damage, scratches or anything. So from that point of view, I believe the engine internally will run even if we didn't do the job. The only problem will be, in this case, the amount of play in the valve is quite big, and I think it might get to the point when the valve, how it's moving around the seat, the valve might actually broke off, fell into the combustion chamber and caused some damage, as you've seen on the RS4 B7. So I'm not saying this is a common fault, this is a one-off car, and in this age every car is like one-off. So we can't actually judge that this car has 108,000 miles, and every RS4 B7 in the world after 100,000 miles they have this kind of a problem. So everything what's happening is just a sign of how the car was maintained in the past, and I think every single car, even which is coming to us, is very individual. So of course we did find some common issues with some cars, but we try to tell you guys in our YouTube videos. But this particular RS4, like I said, it's one-off, and obviously I don't think every single one should have a problem with this. Definitely bear in mind, these cars are getting to a certain age where tear and wear signs from everyday usage or hard usage might come to any kind of a problem really at this age, and especially all the components which are serviceable slowly but surely will need replacing. So When we get into some kind of serviceable parts like the timing chains, I didn't see any problem with this particular chains, and obviously there were not rattling, there were no funny noise coming out of the timing chains or anything. What I can say, what I've seen when I took the engine apart, again, the top plastic guide, which is between the camshaft, is quite fragile, and that is just a matter of time when all these plastics, unfortunately, from all the tear and wear, will probably broke off, and it might lead to another issues unless it's serviced or it's prevent from happening. So at this point, everything what we've done to the engine was part of the job. However, with this particular RS4, on the beginning of the video, I did mention that I'm not really happy with the condition of the rear subframe, and sooner or later it will probably need doing. So I already spoke with the owner. He is aware of the situation. Of course, we will continue with the whole engine job because that's the part of the deal, and I will see what will be the decision, especially with the rear subframe with the arms. The front subframe is like, he said, yeah, get it done, but we still have to price up everything else what needs doing. But probably he will go ahead, so we will have like a small restoration project of a B7 RS4. So at this point, I'll probably gonna pack up everything what's going to the machine shop, and I will see you in the next video. So thank you for watching, guys, and see you next time.